All right, hi all, we are live. Welcome to the White House Brief. Breaking news today, so we want to go live on Facebook, and then for you CRTV subscribers, we'll upload it to the website so you can watch it after. But I just wanted to take this moment to thank our law enforcement and thank the people in uniform who risk their lives every day for us, because for them, it doesn't matter in the moment who the shooter is or why he's shooting or what his political or religious beliefs are. What matters is that they can keep as many people out of harm's way as possible. Now, the media, they've tried to sensationalize the story, obviously, and some are even attaching political motives to the tragedy. Now, later down the line, there is a time and a place for analysis. But right now, when we don't have all the facts and we're still trying to make sense of the few facts that we do have, right now is not that time. Earlier, the president's son, Eric Trump, tweeted, "It's days like this that we should stop and thank all the men and women in uniform who sacrifice their own lives every day to help others." Now, I thought that's exactly the right message to have, and the Trump administration's message, I think, has been on point today, because whenever something like this happens, people always say, oh, who did this, or what were they, who were they, what kind of weapon did they use, was it legal, and can we ban it? But you forget about the people who were there to help regardless of any of that. I want to show a few images of our first responders reacting to reports of an active shooter. Here you can see Las Vegas police officers running toward the scene. According to the source of this image, only 20 people had been confirmed dead at this point. Now it's up at 58. Here's another one, policemen standing guard outside the music festival after finding out reports of an active shooter. Now, Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders echoed Eric Trump's sentiments in that tweet he sent out and told a few really moving stories, I think, about civilian first responders who actually put their lives down to save loved ones and even put their lives down to save total strangers.
One man, 29-year-old Sonny Melton, had traveled from Tennessee to Las Vegas for the concert with his wife, Heather. When the bullets began raining down from above, Sonny shielded her from danger, selflessly giving up his life to save hers. They'd been married for just over a year. Others risked their own lives to save people that they had never met. Mike McGarry of Philadelphia laid on top of students at the concert to protect them from the gunfire. They're 20, I'm 53, he said, and I've lived a good life. Lindsay Padgett and her fiance, Mike J., fled for cover during the attack and immediately returned to the scene with their pickup truck to help transport the wounded to nearby hospitals. Gail Davis, who was attending the concert with her husband, said she owes her life to a brave police officer who instinctively served as a human shield, protecting her from harm. Sadly, multiple police officers, both on duty and off duty, were among those killed or injured. But what these people did for each other says far more about who we are as Americans than the cowardly acts of a killer ever could. The Gospel of John reminds us that there is no greater love than to lay down one's life for a friend. The memory of those who displayed the ultimate expression of love in the midst of an unimaginable act of hate will never fade. Their examples will serve as an eternal reminder that the American spirit cannot and will not ever be broken. In the days ahead, we will grieve as a nation, we will honor the memory of those lost as a nation, and we will come together, united as one nation, under God and indivisible.
The things that Americans are willing to do to help each other is just incredible. And the things that our law enforcement are willing to do for total strangers take such a crazy amount of bravery. And as they are disparaged on the football field by NFL players and called pigs and blamed at protests across the country, I think that we owe it to all of them to thank them for what they do. If you listen to any of those stories that Press Secretary Sanders told today, you know that those were not hateful acts, and you know that the police are not pigs, they're heroes. Here's a clip of a woman who explains how one of the first responders helped her keep her life. Watch.
Then it started shooting again, and he came running back in and covered me up again. And then the shooting just would stop. Like he or she, whoever, was refilling or whatever you call it, reloading. Mm-hmm. And then he said, "We need to get out of here. We got to get you out of here." So we went to another little tent and stood in there, or we laid down in there. And again, that officer was with me. He was like my guardian angel. He never left me.
Guardian angel. I mean, I dare any one of those NFL players to kneel and dishonor our policemen like this one after what they did for this woman and so many others. Now, part of the reason the Trump administration's message struck a chord with me, at least, is because it was in direct contrast to what Hillary Clinton did, which was immediately politicize the tragedy. She wrote on Twitter, "Our grief isn't enough." So in other words, she's saying, don't grieve, use this time to advance our political agenda. Then she wrote, "We can and we must put politics aside, stand up to the NRA and work together to try to stop them from happening again." So she brings the NRA into this, already putting the blame on a political group that appears to have nothing to do with this tragedy. But then she also writes, quote, "Imagine the deaths if the shooter had a silencer, which the NRA wants to make easier to get." So not only is she politicizing what actually happened, but then she's trying to make it sound even more horrifying than it already was by creating a hypothetical situation that didn't happen to make it sound like the NRA, and by extension the Republican Party, could have made this tragedy even worse. Guys, we are so lucky she is not president. And we are so lucky that we don't have someone in the Oval Office that relishes the opportunity to stoke a tragedy, that relishes that tragedy as an opportunity to get legislation passed, and then uses that legislation to push this country further and further to the left as they take more and more of your rights in the process. We have a president, on the other hand, saying, I don't have an agenda at all right now, other than to thank those who tried to risk their own lives to save someone else's and honor the fallen and their loved ones. That's what today should be about. And so I was relieved to see the administration's response. I was happy to see them respond in the right way when the media tried to politicize this. Watch this clip.
Many times when these horrible massacres occur, it leads to questions about gun control. Has this particular massacre made the president think anything more about pursuing tighter gun laws, such as background checks, to prevent massacres like this from happening again?
Look, this is an unspeakable tragedy. Today is a day for consoling the survivors and mourning those we lost. Our thoughts and prayers are certainly with all of those individuals. There's a time and place for a political debate, but now is the time to unite as a country. There's currently an open and ongoing law enforcement investigation. A motive is yet to be determined, and it would be premature for us to discuss policy when we don't fully know all the facts or what took place last night.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Predictably, the only thing the press was able to do today was talk about gun control. And it just struck me as so inappropriate. Again, there is a time to analyze, because if we don't know what happened and we don't know who did it and we don't know anything about it, then we can't prevent it from happening in the future. So I'm not saying it's never okay to find a source of blame, a source of motive, a source of ideology, whatever it is. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is right now, when we don't even know the facts, and the facts that we do know, those might not even be right. Right now is not that time. Let's use this time to honor the people who are there to protect us regardless of any of those factors. Maybe a friend told me it should maybe be a 48-hour rule before you're allowed to make these things political. Because regardless of who committed that act, it could be a crazy person, it could be a Muslim, or it could be a Nazi, it could be a Black Lives Matter guy. It doesn't matter. We don't know right now. Our first responders, they protect us. And so we ought to honor them for doing that and not kneel. That's today's White House Brief. Thanks for watching. You can follow me on Twitter @MillerStream, and we'll see you next time.